I speak of intuition, I do not speak of a vague feeling or a sentimental hunch that drifts like smoke on the surface of the mind. I speak of a faculty as ancient as the human soul itself, a faculty that reaches downward into the collective unconscious, pulling from depths that most fear to confront. Intuition is not merely about predicting small events, nor about sensing the mood of a room. It is about perceiving the undercurrents of reality itself, perceiving the invisible threads that bind the seen to the unseen, the conscious to the hidden, the waking world to the realm of shadow and dream. Many of you have felt it in moments that left you unsettled, a sudden knowing, an awareness that could not be justified by reason or by evidence. Perhaps you walked into a place and knew you had been there before, though it was the first time your feet touched its stones. Perhaps you met a stranger and felt the weight of a bond, as if your souls had collided long before your bodies had crossed paths. Or perhaps you felt the icy hand of dread before tragedy revealed itself, as though your spirit had heard the echo of an event before time had brought it to pass. This is intuition, a whisper from the unconscious, a murmur from the depths, and like every whisper from that abyss, it comes bearing both gift and danger. For the gift of intuition is that it opens the eye of the soul. It shows you truths beyond rational calculation, truths hidden behind masks, truths that reason resists, yet the curse is entwined with it. For to see beyond the veil is also to see what you cannot unsee, to carry burdens of knowledge that others deny, to feel the weight of possibilities that never fully manifest, and to wrestle with images that may haunt your dreams and disturb your waking life. Imagine for a moment a woman who dreams of fire in her childhood home. She wakes with trembling hands, not knowing whether the fire is a symbol of her inner passions or an omen of destruction to come. When the house later burns, she is cursed with the memory of her dream, wondering if she carried the knowledge beforehand and failed to act, or if the unconscious had merely revealed to her the inevitability of fate. Such is the torment of intuition. It can never be fully proven, only lived, and the responsibility it lays upon the bearer can feel unbearable. When I work with patients, I often observed the intuitive type, the ones who perceive the world not through sensory details or logical deduction, but through images, hunches, and subtle impressions. They lived as if antennas extended from their souls, always trembling, always catching signals from dimensions others ignored, and though their gift allowed them to see patterns, to connect symbols, and to anticipate events with uncanny accuracy, their suffering was profound. They struggled to trust themselves, and at the same time, they felt alienated from those around them who demanded evidence and reason. They felt the loneliness of the prophet who sees but cannot prove, who knows but cannot be believed. This loneliness is part of the curse, for intuition sets you apart. It makes you different, estranged from the masses who live only by the sensory world. They see only the surface. You see the depths. They ask for facts. You bring visions. They demand certainty. You live with ambiguity, and yet this estrangement is also the crucible in which your individuality is forged. Without it, you would never learn to trust the silent voice within never learn to carry the paradox of gift and burden in the same breath. The ancients knew of this paradox. They closed it in myth. The seer of old was never a comfortable figure. Cassandra in Greek legend could foresee the future with terrible clarity. Yet her curse was that no one believed her. This myth is not a relic of the past. It is an archetypal truth about the intuitive psyche. To see is not enough. The world may reject your vision, and you may stand isolated, torn between the certainty of your inner knowing and the rejection of the outer world. But intuition is not meant to be comfortable. It is meant to awaken. It is meant to pierce the veil of illusion and shatter the complacency of certainty. When you dream of a snake, do not dismiss it as chance. The snake is not merely a reptile of the waking world. It is the ancient archetype of transformation, of death and rebirth, of knowledge that wounds even as it enlightens. The dream is the language of intuition, and those who dare to listen to it enter the dialogue with the unconscious. This dialogue is both sacred and perilous, for the unconscious is not gentle. It speaks in riddles, in symbols, in shadows. It demands humility, for it reveals to you not only the secrets of the cosmos, but the secrets you would rather hide from yourself. And here lies another curse. Intuition opens you not only to the world outside, but to the world within. It unveils your shadow, the rejected parts of your own being, the impulses and desires you deny. The intuitive person often perceives the hidden motives of others, but even more painfully, they are forced to confront the hidden motives of themselves. They see their envy lurking beneath kindness, their pride beneath humility, their fear beneath bravado. To live with intuition is to live with mirrors that cannot be broken, mirrors that reflect not only your highest potential but your darkest truth. Many have asked me whether they should cultivate intuition, whether they should lean into it or suppress it. I tell them that intuition, like every archetypal force, cannot be commanded or dismissed at will. It must be integrated. To suppress it is to fall into numbness, to silence a faculty that belongs to the wholeness of the psyche. But to indulge it without grounding is to risk madness, to be consumed by visions that blur the line between reality and imagination. Integration is the path. The intuitive gift must be balanced by sensation, by reason, by feeling. It must find its place among the other functions, not as tyrant, not as slave, but as companion. Consider the dreamer who sees visions of disaster. If they live only in the realm of intuition, they may panic, interpret every shadow as prophecy, and spiral into paranoia. But if they ground themselves in reason, in sensation, in the tangible world, they can discern which visions are symbolic and which are practical warnings. They can learn to carry the knowledge without being devoured by it. Yet, let me warn you, the integration of intuition is not a comfortable process. It requires that you descend into the underworld of your own psyche, that you wrestle with archetypes and shadows, that you learn the language of dreams and the symbols of myth. It requires that you accept the burden of knowing, that you embrace the responsibility of carrying knowledge that cannot always be explained. It is, in truth, a spiritual discipline as demanding as any religious path, for it demands nothing less than the courage to see what others refuse to see. When I say intuition is a gift, I do not mean it in the trivial sense of fortune-telling or party tricks. I mean that it is a faculty that connects you to the archetypal, to the eternal, to the soul of the world. It is a bridge between the finite and the infinite. And when I say it is a curse, I mean that such a bridge cannot be crossed without cost. The cost is isolation, uncertainty, the heavy burden of knowledge, yet to those who bear it with humility, with courage, with patience, intuition becomes not a curse to be escaped, but a destiny to be lived. Pause with me here. Ask yourself, when has your intuition spoken to you? When have you dismissed it? Only to discover later that it had been right all along. When have you followed it and been led into paths that reason could never have predicted? These are not accidents. They are encounters with the unconscious, invitations to listen to the depths of your being. Do not run from them, but neither should you surrender blindly. Walk the narrow path between gift and curse, between vision and illusion, between prophecy and madness. That is the path of individuation, the path of becoming whole. The path of intuition deepens as one learns to listen, not only with the mind, but with the soul. Yet, as I have said, this listening is never simple, for the unconscious speaks in paradox. It reveals truths that wound and truths that heal, and it offers them in the same breath. When the intuitive eye opens, it does not select only what is pleasant. It exposes the raw essence of existence, both light and shadow. That is why so many flee from it, preferring the safety of facts and numbers, preferring the neat boxes of logic where certainty rules. But certainty is not life, it is only the mask of life. And intuition tears away masks with brutal insistence. I remember vividly a patient whose dreams were filled with images of drowning. He would wake gasping for air, his chest heaving as if the sea itself had dragged him under. In analysis, he confessed that these dreams left him unsettled during the day, as though he carried water in his lungs even while awake. The drowning was not literal. It was the symbol of his life, of his suffocation beneath the expectations of others. His intuition, speaking through the dream, was showing him a truth. He resisted that he was living a life that was not his own, that he was drowning beneath the projections of family, society, and his own false persona. When at last he acknowledged it, the terror of drowning transformed into the strength to breathe for himself. This is the way of intuition. It is merciless in unveiling what the conscious mind refuses. And in doing so, it becomes the very key to liberation. But it demands that one endure the terror of seeing. The curse of intuition is not only the knowledge it delivers, but the timing of that knowledge. Intuition often knows before the event has unfolded, before the evidence has emerged. It whispers of betrayals before the betrayal occurs, of illness before the body confirms it, of endings before they arrive. This foreknowledge isolates the intuitive one, for to speak it aloud invites skepticism, even ridicule. To remain silent is to carry the burden alone. Thus, the intuitive individual often lives with the weight of secret knowledge. caught between the compulsion to warn and the futility of being dismissed. Many prophets of history bore this very curse. Their visions rejected until they came to pass, and even then, they found no comfort in being right. And yet, the gift within this curse is profound. For intuition aligns you with the archetypal rhythms of life. It allows you to sense the unfolding of destiny, to live not merely as a spectator of events, but as a participant in the deeper patterns beneath them. When one dreams of a great storm, one may interpret it as a personal crisis, or as a cultural upheaval, or as the stirring of the collective unconscious preparing for transformation. All these layers are true, for intuition does not bind itself to one level of reality. It speaks simultaneously of the inner and the outer, the personal and the collective, the symbol and the fact. To hear its voice is to live in a reality that is multidimensional, where every image carries more than one meaning, and every meaning carries more than one consequence. I must emphasize that intuition, when unbalanced, can devour its possessor. I have seen men and women swallowed by their visions, losing their foothold in the tangible world, drifting into fantasy and illusion. For this reason, the cultivation of intuition must always be anchored in reality. A tree cannot grow toward the heavens unless its roots hold firmly in the earth. Likewise, intuition must be balanced by sensation, by the grounding of the body and the senses. Without this balance, one risks becoming the mad prophet, the visionary consumed by phantoms. Integration is the safeguard, and it is achieved not by denying intuition, but by giving it its rightful place alongside reason, feeling, and sensation. I speak to you now as if in a hall where the air itself vibrates with unseen presences. For intuition is awakened in such moments. Look into your own life. How often has your deepest knowing come not in noise but in silence, not in calculation, but in stillness? The unconscious does not shout, it whispers, and only the attentive soul hears. That is why intuition is often drowned in the clamor of modern life, where distraction is constant and silence is feared. To recover it, one must reclaim the capacity to be still, to enter the inner sanctuary where images rise unbidden, where dreams speak in their ancient language. The ancients did not despise such voices. They sought them in oracles, in the rustling of leaves, in the flight of birds, in the dreams of the night. They knew that the unconscious speaks in symbols, and they listened with reverence. Modern man, intoxicated with rationality, has dismissed these voices as superstition, and yet they persist, breaking through in dreams, in sudden knowing, in uncanny synchronicities. They remind us that no matter how advanced our science, the soul remains older, deeper, and more mysterious. Intuition is the echo of that mystery. To embrace it is to stand at the threshold of transformation. But the transformation it demands is never simple, for it asks you to surrender control. It asks you to accept that there are truths you cannot rationalize, that there are paths you cannot map, that there are forces within you and around you that exceed your comprehension. This surrender is not weakness but strength, for it is the humility that opens the door to wholeness, do not mistake me. I am not urging you to abandon reason or to glorify irrationality. I am urging you to recognize that reason alone is insufficient. It builds walls, but intuition opens doors. It measures facts, but intuition reveals meaning. It dissects the body, but intuition perceives the soul. To live fully is to unite them, to let reason sharpen intuition, and intuition deepen reason. That is the union of opposites, the alchemical marriage within the psyche, the path of individuation itself. The gift and curse of intuition is thus inseparable from the journey toward the self, for intuition guides you toward your destiny, towards the hidden wholeness that waits to be realized. But in hiding you, it also unsettles you, disrupts your certainties, shatters your illusions. It forces you to confront not only the world as it is, but yourself as you are. It shows you the wound you carry and the healing you resist. It shows you the shadow you hide and the light you fear. It is both angel and demon, both savior and tormentor, both gift and curse. Consider the archetype of the blind prophet Tiresias, who could see the future, though his eyes be closed to the present. This figure speaks to the paradox of intuition, to be blind to what others see and yet to see what others cannot. Such is the fate of the intuitive one. The world will call you blind because you do not worship facts, but in truth you see more deeply because you see the invisible. The cost of such vision is that you will never belong fully to the world of appearances, but the reward is that you will belong to yourself, to the eternal dialogue between conscious and unconscious, between finite man and infinite mystery. I tell you, then, do not fear the burden of intuition, do not resent its curse. Instead, carry it with dignity, knowing that every gift worthy of the soul is also a weight. The soul does not bestow gifts for comfort, but for transformation. If your intuition troubles you, it is because it seeks to awaken you. If it isolates you, it is because it calls you to a path that few dare to walk. If it wounds you, it is because it points to the place where healing must begin. This is not cruelty, but destiny. The unconscious is never cruel. It is truthful, and truth is often harsh. So when you next feel that sudden knowing, that inner stirring, that unexplainable certainty, do not dismiss it. Listen, weigh it against reason, test it against reality, but do not silence it. For it is the voice of the eternal within you, speaking in the only language. It knows the language of images, of symbols, of dreams, of sudden revelations. To honor, it is to honor the depth of your own soul. To integrate it is to walk the path of wholeness, and to endure its curse is to discover in time that what seemed a curse was always the gift in disguise. There's something profoundly unsettling about the fact that intuition moves faster than reason, that it leaps ahead into the unknown, and only later does reason stumble along to verify what has already been felt. This is why the intuitive individual often appears irrational, impulsive, or even foolish to those who rely solely on logic. Yet, time and again, intuition proves to be closer to truth than calculation. It is like a torchlight flashing for an instant in a dark forest, illuminating not the whole path, but enough of it to show where the next step must fall. Those who ignore that light, insisting on waiting for the sun to rise before they move, may never move at all. Those who trust it learn to walk even in darkness, and in walking, they become transformed. But the transformation does not come without cost, for to live by intuition is to accept uncertainty as your companion. It is to embrace the possibility of error, for intuition speaks in symbols and shadows, not in clear equations. The danger lies in mistaking the symbol for the fact, in assuming that every image is literal rather than archetypal. A dream of death, for instance, rarely means the end of life. More often it signifies the death of an old identity, the closing of a chapter, the transformation of the psyche. Yet how many awaken from such a dream in terror, convinced that mortality has knocked upon their door? Intuition demands discernment, for without it, one falls into superstition and fear, and here the curse reveals itself again, for the intuitive is constantly balancing on the edge between vision and delusion, between revelation and projection. They are exposed not only to the truths of the unconscious, but also to its distortions. The unconscious is vast, and within it dwell not only the archetypes of wholeness, but also the fragments of trauma, the residues of fear, the echoes of forgotten pain. Intuition brings all of this to the surface, and it is not always easy to distinguish what belongs to the eternal patterns of the psyche and what belongs merely to the personal wound. This is why intuition must always be tempered by self-knowledge, by the painstaking work of shadow integration. Without this grounding, the intuitive may drown in a flood of images, mistaking every inner echo for divine truth. Yet, I must tell you, even this danger is part of the gift. For in wrestling with the shadow, in discerning symbol from projection, the intuitive individual grows. They learn humility, they learn patience, they learn to test their visions not against the applause of others, but against the unfolding of life itself. They learn that intuition is not about being right in the eyes of men, but about being aligned with the deeper currents of the soul. In the myths of every culture, there are figures who embody this paradox. The shaman, for example, who journeys into the other world to retrieve knowledge for the tribe, often pays for his visions with wounds, with madness, with exile. He descends into darkness, not for his own sake, but for the sake of the community. And he returns scarred but illuminated. This is an image of the intuitive life. To see beyond is to be wounded by what you see. But it is also to return with treasures that can heal not only yourself but those around you. I have spoken often of dreams because they are the purest expression of intuition. The dream is not bound by logic or by the linear sequence of time. It speaks in the language of the soul, in images that carry meanings across centuries and cultures. When one dreams of the great mother, of the wise old man, of the hero, of the shadow, one is not simply dreaming of personal experiences. One is tapping into the collective unconscious, into the archetypes that shape the destiny of humanity itself. To listen to these dreams with reverence is to awaken the deepest level of intuition, the level that connects personal life with cosmic patterns, but to ignore them, to dismiss them as random firings of the brain, is to sever oneself from the very wisdom that has guided humankind since the dawn of time. The modern world, in its obsession with rational control, has silenced dreams. It has silenced intuition. It has elevated facts while neglecting meaning, and in doing so, it has produced a generation that knows how to manipulate the world but does not know how to live within it. We have learned to split the atom but not to integrate the shadow. We have learned to decode the genome but not to interpret the dream. We are drowning in information but starved of wisdom. And it is intuition, balanced and integrated, that restores wisdom. For wisdom is not the accumulation of facts, but the discernment of meaning. Let me ask you, how many times have you betrayed yourself by ignoring your intuition? How many times have you silenced the inner voice because it did not fit the expectations of reason, of society, of those around you? And what was the result? Regret, pain, the realization, too late, that you had known all along? This is why intuition feels like both gift and curse. It speaks, but we do not trust it. It warns, but we turn away. It guides, but we hesitate. And when the outcome proves it was right, we carry the double weight of the consequence and the guilt of not having listened. But consider the other side. Think of the times you did listen. Think of the times when reason said no, but intuition said yes. And you followed the yes, and it opened doors you never could have imagined. Think of the relationships that began with an inexplicable certainty, the opportunities that revealed themselves when you trusted the invisible pull, the dangers you avoided because something inside whispered, do not go there. These moments are not accidents. They are proof of the soul's guidance. They are reminders that you are more than a machine of flesh and thought. You are a vessel of spirit, connected to patterns larger than yourself. So yes, intuition is both gift and curse. It blesses you with vision, and it burdens you with responsibility. It reveals truth, and it unsettles comfort. It saves you, and it wounds you. But in the end, this paradox is the very essence of human growth. For no gift of the soul is ever free of burden, and no curse of the soul is ever devoid of grace. To bear both is to live as a whole human being, not as a fragment. I urge you, then, to walk forward with courage. Do not shrink from your visions. Do not flee from your dreams. Do not silence the whispers of your soul. Learn to listen, to discern, to balance, to integrate. For if you do, you will discover that what once felt like a curse was in fact the very path to your wholeness. The self does not deceive. It only demands that you endure the tension of opposites until their union gives birth to transformation. There comes a moment, if you dare to walk with intuition long enough, when you realize that it is not you who possesses intuition, but intuition that possesses you. It is not a tool you wield. It is a current you are carried by. It moves through you as wind moves through the trees, stirring branches you thought long dead, awakening roots buried deep in forgotten soil. To live with intuition is to surrender the illusion of mastery and to become a participant in a larger dance. This is why so many resist it. They do not want to be moved. They want to control, but intuition belongs to the archetypal world, and the archetypes do not bend to our will. They are older, stronger, eternal. To those who fear, I say there is no need to fear what is already within you. Intuition is not foreign. It is the voice of your own soul, the ancient inheritance of the human race, the memory of countless generations, encoded in the depths of the collective unconscious. When you sense danger before it arrives, it is not magic. It is the wisdom of the species speaking through you. When you recognize a face you have never seen, it is the archetype of recognition, reminding you that we are all patterns repeating in infinite forms. When you dream of symbols that stir awe or dread, it is the unconscious pulling from a treasury that belongs not to you alone, but to all humanity. Intuition is your participation in the eternal memory of the human race, and yet, precisely because it draws from depth beyond the personal, it can overwhelm the individual. The unconscious is like the ocean, vast and indifferent. To dip your hand in it is to feel refreshment, but to fall headlong into it without preparation is to drown. This is why I have always insisted on the necessity of consciousness, of structure, of integration. Intuition must be balanced by conscious awareness, or else it becomes a flood. The flood destroys, but the river nourishes. It is your task to shape the channel, to allow the waters of intuition to flow without sweeping you away. Let me illustrate with the image of the dream. A young man dreams of a bird with broken wings. Struggling to fly, he awakes disturbed, sensing that it means something. If he dismisses it, the image lingers, unresolved. If he obsesses, he may lose himself in wild interpretations, imagining omens that paralyze his will. But if he engages consciously, if he asks what within him struggles to rise, what aspiration has been wounded, then the dream becomes guidance. Intuition is like this dream. It presents the image. What you do with it determines whether it is curse or gift. So many who come to me ask, how do I know if it is truly intuition and not just my imagination? And I answer, you do not always know. That is part of the burden. Intuition never offers absolute certainty. It offers possibility, pattern, resonance. It is up to you to test it, to live with it, to see how it unfolds. True intuition bears fruit. It leads to growth, to meaning, to greater wholeness. False intuition or mere fantasy leads to stagnation, to fear, to self-deception. But the difference can only be discerned by living it. One must risk, one must step into the unknown. This is why intuition demands courage. It is not the easy path of certainty, but the difficult path of faith in the unseen. And here we touch the essence of its paradox. Intuition both liberates and wounds. It liberates because it connects you to the eternal, to the wholeness of the self. It wounds because it shows you the truth before you are ready to face it. Many of you have felt this. You knew the relationship was ending long before it ended. You knew the illness was advancing long before the diagnosis. You knew the betrayal was already seeded long before it unfolded. And you suffered in silence, carrying knowledge that others would not or could not acknowledge. This is the lonely burden of the intuitive soul. but it is also the mark of its authenticity. For intuition, like prophecy, is often rejected at first and vindicated only later. Do not despise this loneliness. It is the solitude of the visionary, the space in which the soul expands. In this solitude, you are initiated into mysteries that the crowd cannot perceive. You learn patience, you learn humility, you learn to stand in truth without needing approval. This is the initiation of the prophet. The seer, the mystic, it is not glamorous, it is often painful, but through it, the soul is tempered, like iron in the fire. What, then, shall you do with this paradox? Shall you reject intuition because it wounds, or shall you embrace it because it guides? The choice is not simple, but I tell you, if you reject it, you reject part of yourself. You will live half a life, deaf to the whispers of your own soul. If you embrace it blindly, you will risk being consumed by delusion. The only true path is integration, to honor intuition without idolizing it, to balance its visions with reason, to test its whispers against reality, to carry its burdens with humility. In this way, intuition becomes not a curse that destroys you, but a gift that transforms you. This transformation is the essence of individuation, for individuation is not merely about becoming unique, it is about becoming whole. It is about reconciling opposites, uniting reason and intuition, shadow and light, conscious and unconscious. Intuition plays a vital role in this process, for it is the bridge that connects the conscious ego to the unconscious self. Without it, you remain trapped in the narrow prison of rationality. With it, you glimpse the vastness of the psyche and the mystery of existence. But to cross that bridge safely, you must walk with both courage and discernment. I will leave you with this. The next time you dream, do not dismiss it. The next time you feel a sudden knowing, do not silence it. The next time your soul whispers, pay attention. Do not ignore it. Write it down, reflect on it, test it, live with it. This is how intuition matures. It is not a lightning bolt that strikes once and leaves you enlightened forever. It is a dialogue, a relationship, a lifelong apprenticeship to the unconscious. If you honor it, it will guide you, not always where you wish to go, but always where you need to go. And when you feel the weight of its curse, when you are burdened by knowledge you cannot prove, by visions others do not share, remember that you are not alone. Remember that countless souls before you have borne this burden, from prophets to shamans to poets. Remember that the loneliness of intuition is the price of seeing, and that to see is better than to live blind. Carry the weight with dignity, and in time you will find that the burden itself becomes the blessing. For the self does not wound to destroy, it wounds to awaken. And to be awakened, however painful, is the greatest gift of all. So I say to you, walk forward, bear the paradox, endure the tension of gift and curse, and trust that in the end they are one and the same. For intuition is the voice of the eternal within you, and to listen to it is to become who you truly are.